Hey guys, I hope you're all well. I just wanted to jump on and give my opinion on the whole Gyökeres Sesko debate that has been kicking off over the last week or so. And I think the general consensus from what I can see online is that Gyökeres is the one everyone wants. And I've got to say that if you're asking me gun to head, I'm in that camp. I think that the problem we've got, or the problem Arteta's got, is that the expectation to win the Premier League next season is the highest that it's ever been since he's been in charge. And I think rightly so. Like, I think at the end of the day, whatever way you kind of try and paint it up, this season was a bit of a letdown and a failure. So the pressure for him to deliver that Premier League trophy next year is extreme. And so based on that, I don't know why you don't go for the guy who, for the last two seasons, has just been banging in goals for fun, and who, by all likelihood, if he comes into this Arsenal team, will score a minimum of 20 Premier League goals next year. I mean, that's a fair assumption that everyone seems to be running with. Where I get a little bit kind of torn on the whole thing is that everyone seems to just have this very kind of clear opinion that Gyökeres will do this and Sesko will do this. And what I mean by that is, like, people just seem to be writing off Sesko as a player. Like, they're kind of turning to his goal record and saying he's not the guy, he's not the guy. Maybe he's the guy in 2-3 years, but he's not the guy next season. And look, that could be right. But, if you actually look at his goal record, I think he played 33 league games this year and scored 13. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Champions League, he played 8, scored 4. And in the German Cup, he played 4, scored 4. So, I think we don't know what will happen next season. Like, Gyökeres could come in and score 12 goals. Sesko could go to Chelsea and score 25. Like, you just don't know. That's football. So when I hear people speak with such conviction about what Gyökeres will do and what Sesko won't do, I find it a bit laughable because, at the end of the day, we just don't know. And none of us, and I can say this with some pretty strong confidence, none of us watch either of those players on a weekly basis to really hold educated judgment on either of them and what they will or won't do for Arsenal. I think if this was 2 seasons ago, my care factor between the two players would be a lot lower, and I probably would lean towards Sesko because I'd be like, look, we're still in that kind of building phase, and I think in a year or two Sesko will be out of this world. But as I've already touched on, I think the problem is we have to win that Premier League next season. And so on that premise, if I'm Arteta and I'm looking at the two players right now and saying, what do I need right now, i.e. next season? I need the guy who for the last few years has been banging in 40, 50 goals a season. So I'm going with Gyökeres, which I know is basically what everyone's saying online anyway. So this video probably doesn't kind of counter that too much. It was more around the fact that I think people kind of writing Sesko off as this kind of waste of money purchase. I disagree with that. Like, if we do end up buying Sesko, and at the moment from what's being reported, it does look like Sesko is actually the more likely person that we'll end up with, I wouldn't be massively bitterly disappointed. I would want to see some more firepower come in to support and help him, but I do personally think that if Sesko was to come into this Arsenal team and we were to tweak our tactics and go back to kind of how we were playing, a year or two ago, in terms of being a bit more front-footed and kind of a bit more dangerous on the attack side of things, I do think he could easily get 20 goals. I think he has all the attributes to finish off what we put on his plate. But the problem is, it is a little bit of an unknown. Whereas with Gyökeres, although it is still an unknown, like, the last 2 years have kind of indicated that unless something massively goes wrong, he's going to do the same again next year. Or at least, the equivalent of what that would be in the Premier League, which I think is like 20 plus goals, which is what we all want. So, yeah, I think the conversation's an interesting one. I think it's not as black and white as what a lot of people make out. But ultimately, if you're asking me for my opinion, and I want to give you my opinion for what it's worth, I think based on the urgency around winning this Premier League next season, I'm going with Gyökeres. So yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think. Do you think it's as one-sided as what everyone makes it out to be and it's Gyökeres or nothing? Or are some of you in the camp which is like, you know what, if we get Sesko, I think there's a player there and you just don't know what he could do next season. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll be jumping on again in a couple of days to discuss some of the other players that I would like to see Arsenal go after at the very least, because I think there's at least another 3 or 4 signings that we need to make after Zubimendi and whoever this striker ends up being. So yeah, have a good weekend, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.